Hello everyone, this is Tyler and today I'm going to share you a tutorial about reaching this old school effect which is from the movie Matrix. I'm sure all of you did see this movie, and as you can see we're going to use Maya, and then we're going to do some color corrections and effects by Nuke. So first let me just show you how I did it and give you a quick overview of the process. So basically, first this was what I did. I created some particles. There are some particles, and I just let me just select them. And sorry if I can copy that. Okay, so this is what I did. We have some particles. I created some particles, some emitters, which you can see here, and I attached the particles that's emitted from these emitters to these paths. So these curves basically are the path for these particles in here. And then these particles themselves are going to create these particles. Let me just it's going so slow. Okay, so these particles that are creating by these emitters will also be an emitter for other particles, which I renamed them through trials. You can see here. So we have emitters in here. There are particles. This is the main emitter that they will emit these emitters to the particles, and these particles will also emit the secondary particles, which I call this trial. And for do that and for reaching that effect, let me just quickly open up the emitter shape node in here. As you can see here in the shading tab, I choose a Sprite. It's a very important in this subject that I used. You can use also instancer, but I use a Sprite, and I will tell you why I choose this Sprite. So with that, let's go ahead and get started by this project. Okay, so let's just start fresh. We're going to start from scratch. The first thing that we should do is that because we need to use sprites, so we should create some pictures of the words of the letters that we want to use on this project. So the first thing that we should do is to open up a project window, and then we are going to, let me just go back to project window and then name this matrix letters, for example, and just accept. Okay, and then we'll save it as letters. So okay, so now the first thing that we should do is we should create our text. So let me just reset that so we all are on the same page. So from the create, you choose text, this option box in here. The first thing that you should do is to download the matrix font. The matrix, let me just find the font for it. The matrix, this one. Matrix Code NFI. Okay, it's free and you can download it. Just search for Matrix Code NFI and you will find this font. After that, you should write all of the characters from A, B, C, D, F, G, and basically that is what I select. You can see here I have 87 characters in here. These are all the characters that I will use for that effect. You can choose whatever you want. Okay, so I chose them, and for the type we use poly, and for the type just triangle and sound of it. But the only issue with the default setting is that if I hit apply, so we can see here, you will see that one characters will not have enough of these 3D delta here, so it will not create the poly for us here. So let me just undo that quickly. So we should just increase a little bit of this 3D delta, and when I hit create, you will see that all of our characters are created, have a poly. These characters have two groups. The first one is the poly themselves, and then the curves that are related to them. As you can see here, by selecting the curves, the poly ones are will be highlighted. So we want to break their connection. what we can do is just select our group for this one and just from edit delete all by type and history, or the shortcut key is Alt Shift D. So you can see if I select now, they will not be related to each other. So now we can simply just delete that curves, and now we will have this one. We call it letters group. Okay, and now we can, for convenience, just change the name, just select all of them, and from the top menu we're going to select the rename and letter 1 to 87. So we have 87 letters. Now let's just select all of the letters from outliner, or you can just using the mark key and select all of them from here. And then we're going to center the pivot, because if we set W, so we're in the transform tool, you can see here the move tool in here, you will see that all of them are in the center, but we want to center the pivot for all of them. So from here you can use modify and center the pivot right here, center pivot, or you can hold Control Shift so you can add it to your toolbar here. So just center the pivot, and then hold X and then move all of them to the center. So now all of our letters are in the center. Just the next thing that you should do is to freeze the transformation, because as you can see here we have some values for the translate X and Y. We want to center the pivot. Just hit Ctrl Shift D just for having a clean. Okay, so now the next thing that we should do is we should assign a material for this, because we want to render them as a switch. So before continuing, first let's just set our render settings. So from render, just from here we can find the render settings, and we're going to use Maya software because it's very important. If it's very simple render, so you can choose Targa or TIFF or any other type that you want, but it should support the alpha channel because we want to have an alpha channel. So I choose Targa in here, and then we're going to have we're not going to use single frame, so we want to have the frame, so name, number and extension, and we want to put it in a new folder. We call it letters and letter. You can see here right now in the images we will have another folder, letters and letter 1 to 80, and for the padding also remember we should have padding, and then from here we should add 87, so from 1 to 87. And for the camera we're going to use the front camera, and for the image size we're going to use 1K because it's very simple. So we're going to hire the we're going to use production quality. We can increase that because it's a very simple rendering. So we're going to switch to front view, and then let's show the render cam, and just let me just show that we have a good view. Just adjust the view, so just zoom in a little bit more, and I think we're good to go. Yep. Okay, so now we're good to go. The next thing that we should do is we should create a material. So select all of them, right click and go to assign and favorite material. We're going to use a Lambert, a very simple material. So in the Lambert we're going to choose a color. Just hit 6 here so we can have an overview here. So I think it's good enough. That's the color. You can choose any color that you want, but because we want to achieve the matrix effect, we're going to use a green one. So we have a green effect, so we have a green color for our material in here, and let's just make sure it's okay. Just test render, that's fine. Okay, so now what we should do before continuing is that we should have a bookmark. We should bookmark our camera view, because if suddenly we just change the view, just right click on this icon that we have in here, and we have this camera view, and it will be head back. So just left click on this, and it will create a new bookmark. Just right click and reach that bookmark. So now that we have it, if I hit render, you will see that we have all of the characters in here. But we want to have, for each image, we want to have one letter in here. So what we can do now is to animate the visibility of these letters in here, so we can have one letter in each frame, because we have 87. So I set the timeline to from 1 to 87. So in each frame we should have we should set a key for visibility of these characters. So each character, except for the first and the last letters, should have visibility of, let me just show you here. You should set 3 keys in the current frame. So for example, for the letter 2, in the frame 2, we should set the visibility to on, but in other frames, or in the frame of 1, the previous frame and the next frame, the visibility should be 0. So what we can do, for example, to see, because we want to use a simple script in here, because we have 87, and if you can do it manually, but it's going to take time, so we're going to use a very simple script in here. So for all of the letters we should have. For doing so, I will tell you how I achieve this. Let me just clear the script editor so you can see. The first thing is that we should set the visibility. For example, we're going to, because it's a letter 2, we're going to go to current frame. Let me just reset that here, and okay, and just clear the area. So we're going to second frame, because it's letter 2, second frame, you can see it's current time, and then we want to change the visibility to off. So it's another one, right click and key selected. Okay, so now, but for this current frame of 1, we want to change the visibility to off and set keyframe. For the frame 2, we want to change visibility to on, and then key selected. And for the frame 3, we should change the visibility to off, and then key selected. So basically, this is what we should do for all of the characters that we have in here. So we're going to use a simple script. I just used this script that I wrote in here. I will give it to you, but this is actually what I did. So as you can see here, I have a string for the attrib, because in here we have letter 1, 2, 3, and to 87. So this is what we should do. For instead of this letter, we're going to use attrib, and then we're going to have a loop, and for each frame we have, as you can see here, I'm going to start from 2 to 86, because 1 and 87 are boundaries, and we should set them manually. It will be easier if we set it manually. Okay, so for each loop we'll have 3 keyframes. Set keyframe, we'll set a keyframe. You can see here we will set attrib to 1, 0, and 0. This is for the current frame, previous frame, and the frame after the current frame. Okay, so now if I hit Control Enter here, you will see that it's for all of the characters in here. It will set our keyframe. So for the letter 2, 3, you can see here at the bottom we have 3 characters. So for the first one, we should do it manually. So for the first one, we should key selected for the first frame, and then, so for the frame 1, for the letter 1, we key the selected and go into the next frame and set the visibility to off and key selected, and we're going to do the same for the 87. So at the 87, we're going to turn the visibility on, but in the previous frame, which is 86, we're going to change the visibility to off. So key selected, and now if we hit play, you can see that in each frame we will have only 1 character. Okay, so if I hit render, so make sure that maybe just zoom a little bit. It's a bit too far, just more, and okay, I think, let me just bring it down a little bit, and we're good to go. Okay. So now, You can see here that the characters that we have in here, that these letters that we have in here are not very rounded in here. So because it's not very important, we're not going to see that much. We can simply just select all of them and hit 3 on the keyboard. So we're in the smooth preview and go to modify and convert and a smooth mesh preview to polygons. So all of the polygons that we have in here right now will be in smooth view. So if I hit render again, you see that we have a nice round shape around it. So now that we have it, we can just simply hit save, and then after that we're going to render that in batch render. You can see here it's available, so batch render and here let me just make sure that I have set all of them. Select the camera. Sorry, we should select the camera, the front camera. Okay, I was forget to set that. So for the camera, a front camera, and then we use the alpha mask channel. So just make sure. Okay, so now we're going to hit the space bar. We achieve this hotbox menu, and from the render, we're going to batch render and close. You can see here that it's rendering, and it's going to render it fairly quickly. So, before that, let me just, okay. So I'll be back when it's done. You can see here it's starting to render all of the frames, and I'll be back when it's done. Okay.